Hello everyone, I am Umma Kulsum Rija from the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Comilla University, ID 12508013. Now I am going to present a very important topic in C programming, user-defined functions. Through this presentation, we will understand what user-defined functions are, their components, and how they are declared, defined, and called in a function. First, let's understand what a user-defined function means. A user-defined functions or UDF is a self-contained block of code written by the programmer to perform specific tasks. In simple words, instead of writing the same code again and again, we can just create our own function and call it whenever we need it. Some basic characteristics of user-defined functions are they are created by the users and they can return a value or maybe not if we use void. Each function has its own name, parameters, and a body. Finally, every function must be declared, defined, and called properly for execution for its proper execution. Now, let's look at the components of a function. Each function in C consists of 5 main parts: function name, return type, parameters or arguments, and a function body and return statement. Here's an example where we see that our return type is integer, our function name is add, and our parameters are AB, and the function body is the part surrounded by the braces. And we have our return statement, which is basically the sum of two integers. Moving to the next, we have function declaration. So before using a function in a program, we must need to declare it, and the declaration tells the compiler about the function's name, return type, and its parameter types. Its syntax is very easy. We just have to add the return type and then the function name and the parameter type list. Here I showed it through an example. Also, it's important to remember that the declaration must end with a semicolon. The parameters names are optional here, but the parameters data type are mandatory because they ensure our data safety during function calls. Moving to the next, we have function definition. The function definition contains the actual code that performs the task. It tells the compiler what the function will do when it will be called, and its general syntax includes local variable declaration and some executable statements and a return value which is optional for void. Here I showed an example where the multiply function multiplies two floating point numbers and returns the result. And that's how function definition look like. After that, we have function call. Once we declare and define a function, we will have to call it to use it inside another function. So the function call executes the code written inside the function body. Its syntax has only two steps, which is one is function name and other is inside the parentheses actual parameters. Here in the example, I showed that the program calls the add function passing the 10 and 5 parameters and then prints the result. And then we have a very interesting function called recursive function. It is mostly used in programs that can be broken into small parts. Here I showed the factorial numbers example. This function calculates the factorial of a number. For example, we calculate 4, factorial 4, which is basically 4 into 3 into 2 into 1 equal 4. So here we have to know that here there is two important things. One is a base case and another is the recursive case. The base case is the thing that we will see that where the function will end, and that's what our base case is. And our recursive case is the that does our function calls calculation. Here's our base case is n equal to 0 and our recursive case is n into factorial parenthesis n minus 1. So I hope it's clear to you. And we have the importance of user-defined functions. So why they are important? They helps us to solve multiple programs. They also makes programs easier to read and to understand. They also makes debugging easier. They also helps us to reduce code duplication. They also increases maintainability. In conclusion, we can say that user-defined functions are reusable block of code written by the programmer. It follows three main stages: declaration, definition, and function calls. And these functions make programmer easier to manage, and our recursive functions helps in solving problems using self-calling logic. So that's all for my presentation on user-defined function in C. Thank you all for listening. I hope this session helped you to understand how functions are efficient for programming.